wanted to make a video about spirituality and spirits and ghosts, if you believe in ghosts, and to tell a story and just to get other people's opinion and other people's experiences. Several years ago, my husband's mother, she has Alzheimer's, or had Alzheimer's at that time, was living in a house up the hill, and she'd gotten really bad. She had fallen, she'd broken her nose, she'd fallen again. She got lost down the road, and anyway, was found out that she had Alzheimer's. And eventually she moved in with us. I had 4 children, and I switched my schedule so that for a while I had a daycare, and then after that I just decided to only work 3rd shift. That way my husband was with her at night, I was with her during the day. And she continued to get worse, had her good moments, very lucid moments where we had amazing talks. She told me things about her child in her life. Her mom had died when she was very young, and she'd been kind of put around to different family members, and how she'd met the love of her life, and how he passed away, and that was the love of her life, my husband's father. So got to know a part of her that I never would have gotten to know had she not had Alzheimer's and lived with us. But as she continued to decline, we had other issues where I had taken a nap during the day while she was taking a nap, and she got out and the sheriff brought her back. So it was kind of apparent to us with 4 kids and working 3rd shift that I wasn't going to be able to take care of her anymore. So one of my husband's other sisters decided to come here from California and take her back there. She had her out there for several years. We lived down the hill from where her home was, her family home. So basically the same property has been in my husband's family for 75, 80, 90 years. And we lived here that whole time. So my husband's mother continued to get worse, as all Alzheimer's patients do. And they decided to put her in a nursing home. And since the majority of her family was around us here locally, they brought her back here to find a nursing home. And they were going to bring her back on a specific day. I don't know, I think it was like maybe mid-July. Might have been late July. Very, very hot day, I remember that. So they arrived on an airplane, and they brought her here because she wanted to see her old house, and she wanted to see our house and us, and so did his sister. And she came to our house. They got out the car, and as she was coming up to the house, our entire living room and the bottom floor of our house turned icy cold, extremely cold. And as she walked through the threshold of our house, all the electricity went out. And stayed out for a minute and then came back on. And my husband's 2 sisters and I and my husband all said at the same time that was their dad. And it was. It was. She used to talk about him all the time. Even when he had passed, she would still have conversations with him. We felt him here a lot of times. My son, when he was very little, would say the man in the suit was sitting in there in his room. He was afraid of him for the most part, but we finally decided that that's who that was. He didn't see him after he turned maybe 7 years old, but he did till then. But anyway, all the electricity went out in our house and came back on. That's happened maybe 3 times. And another time that it happened was the mentioning of a name of someone who had passed. One of my friends who had passed, we were talking about him, and as we mentioned his name, all of the electricity went out. So it's 3 times in the time we've lived here, and 20, 30 years, the electricities went out, which I think is great. Knock on wood to our electric company. But it did happen in those instances. But anyway, we had felt him, my husband's father, we had felt him so many times around here, and we kind of called him by name, like, yeah, we know you're here. Yeah, we understand you're here. After that day, he followed her to the nursing home. And he stayed up there at the nursing home, spirit-wise, with her until she passed. She knew it. We knew it. You felt him when you went to the nursing home. And it was something otherworldly that told me that love doesn't know the constraints of time or space or body. Love was true, and she had true love. So that is my story about spirits and spirituality, if you stuck with me through the whole thing. And I'd love to hear your story on ghosts and spirits, and if anything like that's happened to you. Thank you. Hugs.